Beautiful. Welcome everybody to our first game in the best of 5 series, the semifinal between the Russian Circus and beGenius. So this is the second qualifier for HGC 2017. It's a best of 5 now. We're starting things off with Tomb of the Spider Queen, and whichever team wins the best of 5 here is going to make it into the league for 2017 and is also guaranteed to have $100,000 just as a participation fee, so they can fully focus on Heroes of the Sport Esports. That doesn't include prize money, doesn't include team salary, so it's a pretty big deal for all of these players. A huge opportunity if you want to be a professional player. And with Tomb of the Spider Queen being our first map, we have a ban on Oriel, interestingly enough, by beGenius, with a great showing against Team Liquid, taking that series with a 2-0. And of course, I also have Hedger with me once again as our commentator here for the draft and the game.
Indeed. So starting off with the picks early on, like you said, Malfurion coming out. ETC being hovered over by Russian Circus, solid pick overall, and a little bit different to the games we were just seeing, but of course, maps are different as well. We saw a lot of global priority overall, a lot of Zarya priority as well from beGenius. We'll see if they continue that theme during this series.
beGenius has so far always tried to go for the Malfurion as one of their first picks. That's totally correct. And as you said, Zarya is apparently a huge priority for them. Then again, one of the things that we of course had in the series that they played against Team Liquid was very different maps. They played on, first of all, Dragonshire as the second map, our last map that we saw, and they also had as a first map, we had Cursed Hollow. In this game now, bot laner with a Thrall currently being hovered over. The new Earthquake for Thrall is a pretty big deal, and it's one of those things that we see coming into play a lot. We have rarely actually seen Thrall going into Sundering these days. So let's see what they're actually picking for. And there she is again. It's the Zarya.
Yep, they love it, they're good at her, it works for them. Excited to see it. I will say I have been peeking in on a couple Russian Circus scrims lately, and they have been testing out some picks I would be interested in seeing. Fortunately, this is not the map we're going to be seeing them on. I will not give spoilers. But against Zarya as well, they usually would intend to either ban out the Zarya or pick it themselves for the kind of comps I've been seeing. But beGenius, they love it too much. Stealing it away, they have that priority.
The one thing about Russian Circus is that they are very... In the tradition of Russian teams and Heroes of the Storm, they're extremely aggressive. Not necessarily in the way that they draft, but the way that they approach the game. So what you sometimes see is them overcommitting to certain fights, that they start to snowball and then going a bit too deep and losing the battle then in the end, or not going back fast enough and then losing that advantage because they get 1 or 2 kills against them. So it's something that they have to definitely work on, but that has more or less also been a tradition for a lot of these Russian teams that came into Heroes of the Storm. Back in the days, they were the ones who actually innovated a lot of the strategies around quintuple blood, for example, which since then got nerfed because Blizzard never intended it to be like that stacking nuke ability that you can have. But right now, this is just like setting the pace a little bit for the series. And we have Johanna banned out simply because she is great on this map, gets a lot of AoE damage and therefore, especially against the minions, a lot of wave clear. And she has seen a pretty big priority these days for a lot of teams.
Yeah, she's still good. She's definitely in that top 3 section of tanks with ETC, Muradin, and Johanna basically all together. Zarya is being picked very highly, but not always as that tank role. She can be picked as sort of a utility tank support bruiser role, just all in one. Very effective at all of those things, so you will usually see her with another tank. And this is very much a Russian style. The Jada for the burst, the Hacker for the picks. Immediate Russian Circus going for any kind of pick potential here.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to point out again is also that first ban that we see for beGenius. One of the reasons why they ban Oriel out is because Sevkaja, who's currently playing the support role for Russian Circus, has been prioritizing the hero very highly. So they try to take Oriel away from them for that reason. Dehaka isn't really the most common pick on this map, since normally we see him on bigger maps where you get more through your global, but he's a hero that can set up very nice ganks on this one in particular, on Tomb of the Spider Queen, because of all those brushes that you have where you can just simply move in. Reyna is being used again, and beGenius did that before, and considering that we have now Tomb of the Spider Queen as the map, and
this has to be Stacks.
This has to be Season Marksman. I mean, last time they didn't play Season Marksman when they used Reyna, but back then there was a Tracer against him, there was an Illusion against him, and we were also a very different map, Cursed Hollow. The stacking process on this map right now is fantastic, and we've been talking about the cap being removed during the last patch, so you can get a ton of damage in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, the heal on level 1, the Give Me More, is still solid. You can just get some serious value on this map with that, especially if, once again, you combine it with the Resistance talent that you can get on at level 7, and that gives you a huge amount of protection against the kind of burst that Russian Circus want to go for here. But it's the appeal of just how much damage they can get is just too good here, and Russian Circus finishing off with the Karateam here, either giving themselves some extra burst damage or some extra burst healing, giving themselves a good amount of flexibility with that pick.
Yeah, our first game therefore completed with the draft. So guys, let's jump in and see who's going to take it between the Russian Circus and beGenius. Our first game of a best of 5 series now, here at the semi-final of the HGC Europe qualifier. Okay, I am hyped for this. I like the Reina priority that they have. I don't even want to call it priority. It's just like something that they like to do.
It's the fact of they have it in their repertoire is already impressive. Anytime we see a hero who's just underused and the team's like a lot of teams will look at it and go, yeah, it seems like it would work, but let's go for this because it's a higher priority. Like, let's go for Falstad because it's a higher priority. Whereas apparently beGenius are looking at that and goes, yeah, Falstad's a higher priority, but we think Reina would be better here. And they're making it work. They're showing a huge amount of control with it.
It's actually interesting, though, still, that they did not take Falstad, since Falstad has one huge... There has actually like a couple of advantages over Reina. First of all, you have a disengage with a gust, you have more wave clear than Reina too, and you have an escape. So Falstad, in that sense, has a few advantages. If you can get the stacks on Reina, if they go for them at all, then you have a lot of auto attack damage, though, and especially if you use the Hyperion properly, with a wave, for example, a Web Weaver wave, you're more or less guaranteed to take a structure down or win a fight over boss.
Yeah, the Hyperion is good. Like we said, the Season Marksman stacks are super easy to get here, and if not, this one thing that Reina has over Falstad, like you said, his escape isn't as good, but his sustain from getting burst down, which is exactly what Russian Circus wants to do, is probably a little bit better than Falstad, as Falstad's very much reliant on either static shield or his barrel roll shield. Other than that, he has the burn abilities to disengage, whereas Reina, he has a small amount of disengage with his Q, but also has some self-healing. Very much the lazy man sustain, but it does work.
I'm very, very curious to see how they're gonna, if they're gonna pick Season Marksman. This, I feel, has to be one. They didn't use it the last time, but it is insane what you can push out later on, especially after 13 in terms of damage, when you have access to a Giant Killer as an option at least, but even without it, it can be fantastic in the later stage of the game if you do a good job stacking early on. So yeah, Tomb of the Spider Queen is our first map. And let's see how the French guys are measuring up here against a completely different team. Game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready. It's the semi-final. We have the Russian Circus going up against beGenius with Mopsy on the left side for the blue team on Dehaka, Power of Dream on ETC. Neon is playing Jaina. We have Sir Ice Cream on Tychus, and Sefkaje is playing Charism. And to the right side of the map, it's of course beGenius, the French team here, with Tank for the win, playing Thrall, Arcane on Zarya. We have Unstable on Malfurion, once again Danatan on Muradin, and Kirva on Reina. Reina this time, as expected, going for the Season Marksman. The Marshal is in the house, and let's see how much pressure he's going to be able to push onto those two tanks that we see for the Russian Circus.
Yeah, Reina wanting to fill the enemy team with the maximum amount of daylight, so the Season Marksman, the easiest map to stack it on. And like we already mentioned before this game started, it now has an unlimited stack. So basically you can just keep it going even after you've reached the top for the activatable's attack speed boost.
Yeah, one of the things that's now going to be very interesting is how they engage the early game. Reina, of course, is still able to get a bit of damage out, but if you're going for a stacking process, then you really want to have your big team fights a bit later on in the game. You have a huge opportunity with level 13 to get the Giant Killer for even more damage, but even without it, you will get a fair amount of pressure against the front line. And on this map, we can easily see him on 60 stacks or more in the later stages of the games, which is going to pressure the front line of the Russian Circus incredibly well. But at the same time, Dehaka is going to look to set up a couple of ganks to see if he can maybe sneak through one of the Brush Stalkers into the back line and get a quick pull there.
Yeah, we will keep an eye out for that. One of the other talents worth mentioning here, the Lingering Chill for the Jaina. So no machine gun build that we've been seeing the majority of Jaina's run here. In this case, just getting the increased duration on the chill, so she's more likely to get that bonus damage, which makes a bit more sense as not a huge amount of heroes are going to have that escape. And also, if it does hit Zarya and Zarya activates her shield, she can wait out that shield and still get bonus damage without just giving Zarya all of that energy stack.
At this point, already the rotation for both of the teams, with Muradin also stacking on a Stormbolt here. Danatan, of course, has to be careful, especially of the Ice Cream, who's currently playing Tychus, and is going to try to go straight into those percentage damage talents. Besides that, basically the build's roughly as you would expect here. The block party taken for ETC makes, of course, a whole lot of sense, considering that they're up against a heavy auto attacker like Reyna and also against the Thrall here. The bot lane, where we have the solo lane, is currently dominated by Thrall plus Dehaka, so the two that have decent wave clear can control this. Mopsy has the opportunity to move into the mid if need be. But already a few potential ganks set up by both teams, looking for an opportunity to get ahead of the early game.
Yeah, both want to try and find their chance here. Paradream getting demounted and harassed repeatedly by Danatan, who's still building stacks here. And you just said something that is one of my favorite things in esports, and that's how silly names sound in certain senses. Oh, hang on. Muradin getting engaged on here. He is dragged. He jumps out. Is there enough to stay? No. Sevka diving deep to get the kill. And they're able to pick that up very nicely. But one thing you said earlier, which was just perfectly shows how cool esports names are, is you never hear he's got to be afraid of Sir Ice Cream in any other scenario in the world. It is the best thing.
Dude, when you said like one thing that you said, it really triggered in my head, just like, what did I say now? What happened? What did I just say? And I had no clue what you were going for. But yeah.
No, just how much I love esports names, because they just create sentences that have probably never been uttered in the world.
By the way, Frost Armor on the Jaina has taken, I think you mentioned that already, and also the Earth ally now for Charism. So yeah, so Ice Cream, by the way, it's still one of the best names that we have in here. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that in my mind. A nice dodge. Danatan needs to jump out here. But there's a lot of pressure currently on Danatan to go for the interrupts, and it costs him a fair amount of hit points.
Yeah, but it's the joy of Muradin. He does have that third wind here, so he can get that extra healing, that dwarven healing that he gets passively, which is a lot more than most heroes. As long as he backs out of fights for a bit, he will just regen. But you've mentioned the Frost Armor and the Urban Ally. A lot of blocks coming out, and this is purely as a reaction to the Reyna and the Thrall here. So this is the first time we're seeing, instead of Reyna being used as a counter, we're seeing counters being used on Reyna. Sevka actually taking a lot of hits here, and Block Party being dropped to try and help him there. Neon getting chased down, but Attack for the Win could not land the wall.
Very much so the pressure. Both of the teams are, of course, attempting to turn in right now, which triggered that fight in the first place. And you're totally right when you're talking about the adjustments, and this is what I love here. They're not blindly picking through a build, they actually adjust against the opponent. And it's oftentimes really important that you know when to adjust and when you can still cope with an opponent's hero or talent choice without adjusting your own build. So a lot of flexibility shown by the Russian Circus. They are level 7 now. Sliding in, Danatan. Well done. He might fall again. Gets healed, but it's too late. It's a second kill for the Russian Circus, eliminating Muradin again.
Yeah, the grenade interrupting Muradin's Dwarf Toss here, and the grenade interrupting the escape of Malfurion as well. The Power of Dream will fall for this. The over-aggression Kira now trying to punish Sir Ice Cream, but Sevka diving in for the save here. He has taken on his level 7 the Heavenly Zeal, that increased movement speed. He does not have Cleanse anymore on level 7, which is a big reason why he's not picked in the support role as much. But the extra movement speed allows a little bit more aggression and a small chance of escape, and of course takes the pressure off ETC having to think about taking speed metal.
We were promised aggression, and aggression is what we're getting right now. I'm liking it. Another talent, you talked about the level 7 on Thrall at the bot lane actually falling solo against Moxio. Wow. No, that shouldn't have happened, which could allow the turn in and the first Web Weaver wave. But we have another battle in the mid lane where again Danatan is in trouble, barely getting out of this one now. But another talent that I wanted to mention real quickly is with the Feeding Frenzy as level 7 on Dehaka. So now we have the cooldown reduction on the drag, which is actually super cool to see. Not really a talent that we have too often in play.
Yeah, and one more talent that we have not mentioned is going to be the Revolution Overdrive coming in for Reyna. It's talent that we saw back when Reyna was a high priority pick in the Asian regions. It basically gives him extra movement speed for every hero that is around him, and that allows him that little bit of escape that he lacks. He misses out on the resistance, but instead is going to play a bit more micro heavy as opposed to a bit more standstill and do all of the damage. and it also gives him the potential for chasing, which is what they want. If you combine that with the Earthquake, there is no one who's going to be able to get away from him. Danatan, once again, getting punished, interrupting his Dwarf Toss. He is taken out, and heroics are achieved by Russian Circus.
And with that, we have the Mosh Pit now, the 7-sided strike. They are more than a level ahead right now. They're absolutely playing a fantastic game here. And again, Reina, of course, is going to get a little bit more value later on when he has more stacks. He's currently at 21. His quest talent completes at 40. But even after that, he is going to continue to gain damage here. The problem for them really is that they don't have level 10 just yet. So they're currently losing a fort at the bot lane. The one in the mid lane is severely damaged. And we're seeing Russian Circus look for another kill. And Danatan runs straight into them. Could fall again. The 7-sided is not getting enough value though, as Danatan dwarfs toss out of it immediately.
Yeah, Neon took a bit of damage, but you immediately saw that movement speed that he gets from Sevka, activating, allowing him to reposition himself very well, and that movement speed is very strong. And for a hero like Jada, that is ideal. Being able to micro yourself around so much better, positioning yourself so that you're less likely to get picked off. On Jada, that is exceptionally useful.
Another turn-in, by the way, in the meantime, from the Russian Circus, or at least the attempt, and they are very close to getting a second Web Weaver wave. But we have level 10 abilities now for both teams, which could result in the fight. Earthquake has been chosen, the Hyperion for Reina. We see Malfurion with the Silence, and once again the Expulsion Zone. So both teams attempting to go for the Web Weaver wave. It would be a big deal if the Russian Circus can make it work, and they actually go for Danatan again, who is using everything he has to stay alive. The Hyperion is on the ground, but look at that mosh pit, baby! Down they go. 1, 2, 3 kills. Great play by Power of Dream. Exceptionally well done, and that is a dream come true for the Russian Circus.
Yeah, Reina attempted to get the good mosh pit. The Earthquake Hyperion combo, super strong, but completely negated by the fact that Muradin was zoned out so far that he couldn't interrupt the mosh pit, and that 4-man mosh pit put the Russian Circus in an insane position. They're now using that advantage to push in the boss. They will get this, and they have their Web Weavers, so this is going to be an insane push. They may even be able to get a keep out of this.
This is absolutely crazy. That push is going to be so good. And you mentioned Earthquake plus Hyperion. It's such a strong tool that they have here, especially, of course, with trapping heroes, maybe even with the Expulsion Zone, but they could not capitalize on it yet. And the Russian Circus is exploiting every single advantage that they have, no matter how small. They have great engagements here thus far, and this is something that beGenius was caught off a bit unaware. So they need to be cautious here. Once again, Kirva barely escaping. Reina moving out, but look at Mopsio coming in. Oh, great play here. I am absolutely loving the style that the Russian team is showcasing.
Yeah, the RK Mopsio out of nowhere, just grabbing up Reina despite the huge amount of healing that he got from himself and Unstable. But we're now seeing Russian Circus pushing in the boss with the Web Weaver behind. The bottom Web Weaver is still pushing it as well, so that's going to start putting pressure onto the tier 2s. But this is a commitment for the keep, and with all their heroes alive and heroics only 20 seconds away, could they go further, Caldor?
I doubt that they will be really willing to... Nah, they can't push into Hyperion. I don't think that's going to happen. But they get the keep, and that is a big deal already. Muradin still at the bottom of the map, and currently the boss is moving in. This could be one of these over-engagements that we talked about a bit earlier. The Hyperion is here. I don't think they should do this. They should actually move back. They might lose heroes here. Muradin, if he was with the team, might have been able to get a Stormbolt in for the additional damage, but they have to retreat right now, baited out the ult. I think the saving grace was really that we didn't see the Earthquake come into play here. Thrall didn't have an opportunity to use that in that battle, but that's one of the things where the Russian Circus has to be very careful. They play a very strong game so far, but if they stay too long in one of these fights, it might turn against them.
Yeah, the defensive Hyperion worked out very nicely there for Kira. But like I said, if Russian Circus stay too long, this is exactly what we say from the majority of the Russian teams. Huge aggression, and we saw that. They weren't even able to get the shield off the core though, but they were able to push really aggressively. If it hadn't been for that Hyperion, I think they might have even stayed through the Hyperion, but the Expulsion Zone was a bit too scary for them. They didn't want to get out-positioned, so they were able to pull back.
Yeah, it's just like the death timers are not really big enough yet. The boss, of course, as it scales over time, was also not as strong as they would want it. But we are seeing them with level 16 talents, probably dropping faster than the 13 for the French team. We have the Ferocious Stalker taken on 13. We're seeing the Ice Barrier now for Jaina herself. And we have the Sixth Sense taken on the side of Charism. So the 16 talents, once they come into play, are going to give them a massive boost again. The big problem that we really just saw with that Reyna pick in this game so far is that he didn't get that much value yet. He is stacking, and he was actually doing a very good job early on, but then they started to fall behind. He's still at 26, and his Hyperions have definitely done a whole lot of work in the game so far, but he's still waiting to pick up his level 13 talent, where he is going to get a little power spike against the front line. The Thrall combo with the Hyperion didn't work out for them yet. So the comp that they have is actually not bad. The problem that they really have is that setting up that comp properly is very difficult. And that's mostly because Russian Circus is just all over the place. With Mopsio flanking from the side, Power of Dream getting good mosh off. They are looking very, very solid in this game.
Yeah, and the Russian Circus, despite the fact they're playing so aggressively, a lot of their talents are a little bit more passive. They hit that 16, and I would like to point out, before this 16 happens, that they currently have 4 different block talents, 2 of which are AoE. They are absolutely trying to play against that Thrall Reyna, and it's working so well for them. But here are the level 13s available for beGenius, but could it be too little too late? We'll have to see. The double Giant Killer has been picked, so like you said, they have a huge amount of extra damage against that front line, and a spell barrier coming in from Zarya, so she can try and burst her way through that Jaina, but Jaina counteracting that with the Northern Exposure, attempting to burst through whatever kind of protection is offered up from beGenius.
This is actually the moment where I would normally be a bit afraid for the Russian team if we were on the same talent level, or just on the same level roughly, because of those 2 Giant Killers and what can be done with them. But since they already have a 3-level lead and they dominated the map thanks to the talent advantage, it seems like a very clean-cut game for the Russian Circus, unless they fall into a trap right now. So at this point, let's see, we have down to the bottom of the map, we are still seeing so Ice Cream here. They are starting to take the camps away again. Danatan is playing very far back. He needs to be careful here. He was pressured by Tychus in all of those fights very heavily. But this is the moment when the Russian Circus wants to go for keep number 2.
Yeah, they're going to begin to put the pressure onto this bottom lane. They want to try and grab something. Mopsio trying to sneak past the root, but he is caught at it. But with the Web Weavers coming in and with these Siege Giants, this keep will go down later or sooner, depending on how aggressive they wish to go with this. But what are we talking about? It's Russian Circus. Of course they're going to go aggressive. They immediately move in as the Web Weaver arrives, and that keep does go down. And now they're going to be looking for either a pick or to rotate up to the mid lane.
Yeah, this is one of the moments where you need to make sure that you get your combo off if you're on beGenius, or you will lose that game. Mopsio is going for the drag the entire time. His cooldown reduction on level 7 is of course helping with him trying to make that happen. Here comes already the Hyperion. Decent one, but the mosh pit is in again, gets interrupted, but it's a bit too late. ETC, is he getting punished for it? Yes, indeed he is. It's a 1-1 kill, but the core is racing down. And yes, this is a great game here, and the lead in the best of 5 series for Russian Circus. Impressive performance by them against beGenius on map number 1.